Today on Bookshots, I'm with Michelle de Kretser and we're talking about her new novel, Questions of Travel. Michelle, welcome to Bookshots.
Thank you.
What's your book about?
It's about travel and work and modern lives. I'm particularly interested in the travel aspect because I think that travel has really played an important part in my own life. I've lived on 3 different continents. I migrated to Australia from Asia. I've worked and studied in Europe, and recently, within Australia, I moved cities. So travel, I feel, has really played quite a large role in my own life, but I'm only a very, very tiny part of a very large social phenomenon. Last year, the figure for international tourism, across the world I mean, reached 1 billion. So there are 1 billion people today traveling the world for pleasure. Now when we add to that people who are traveling for work, people who are migrating, people who are fleeing war or persecution, we start to see that the modern age is really the age of travel. So I suppose I wanted to just ask that question, does travel really take us closer to other people or not?
Now, there are 2 central characters in the book, and chapters alternate between them, their perceptions, their realities. We have Laura and Ravi. Can you tell us a little bit about each of them?
Laura is an Australian woman who comes from a rather unhappy family background and who, when she's a young woman in her early 20s, comes into some money and sets out to see the world. And she loves travelling. She goes to a lot of different places in her life. Ravi is a Sri Lankan man who comes from a close-knit family background, and he is someone he's not poor, but he's from a modest background, and he dreams of being a tourist, of seeing the world, but there are various reasons why this is difficult for him, financial of course, and other reasons. And one of the reasons I wanted to have those 2 stories goes back to our question about the role that travel plays in the world today, because increasingly the world, I think, is divided into the global rich and the local poor. And the way we can think about that broadly is people for whom travel outside their own country is relatively easy, and people for whom it's problematic. And it's problematic not only for financial reasons, although they are overwhelming, but also often because people from certain places do not have what we could call desirable passports.
Now, Ravi comes from Sri Lanka, which of course is your country of origin too, and I wondered what it was that you wanted to tell us about that place that we might not have understood through the traditional tourist experience.
Well, I think that Sri Lanka is a place that is very beautiful. It's a really gorgeous country physically. It has a lot of natural beauty, and it depends very heavily on tourist income. And it is entirely possible to go to Sri Lanka and have a wonderful holiday, and have very little or no real engagement with what is going on in the country politically, for instance. It's a country that has only very recently emerged from a civil war. In the period in which the book is set, that war is still going on. Now, as a tourist myself in other countries, I can completely see the attraction of going to a lovely hotel and having what we call, in fact, an escape. You know, we are escaping from our real lives when we go and live in beautiful surrounds and are waited on hand and foot and eat lovely food. But for the people who live in that country, that is their real life, the dailiness, the politics, the history, and they can't escape from that. And so I just suppose I wanted to juxtapose those two things of how you can have a wonderful time in a country and really not engage with it on a very deep level at all.
Questions of Travel is a really big, ambitious, complex novel. It's about identity, travel, technology, and contemporary life. It manages to be both funny and serious, topical and really thought-provoking. But you will need your passport for this one.